2 months of war, billions spent, facilities bombed into rubble. And Iran is still 1 year away from a nuclear weapon, exactly where it was before the first bomb fell. 440 kilograms of enriched uranium, unaccounted for. Buried too deep to reach. Enough for 10 bombs. The war didn't stop the clock, it just reset it. Months into a war launched in part to stop Iran from building a nuclear weapon, American intelligence now says the country is just as close to building one as before the bombardment. Making sure Iran never has a nuclear weapon was one of the top priorities of the current war. Trump has said it, his deputy has expressed it, and so has his Secretary of War. And yet, after everything the US has put into this war, the Americans now admit it might all have been for, well, absolutely nothing. According to a Reuters report, US intelligence believes Iran would still need roughly a year to produce a nuclear bomb, the same estimate that followed last June's strikes on the Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan nuclear complexes. Those June attacks, part of what the Pentagon called Operation Midnight Hammer, destroyed or badly damaged all 3 enrichment plants. Yet the clock has barely moved.
While Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities, Operation Epic Fury built on this success by decimating Iran's defense industrial base that they once leveraged as a protective shield around their pursuit of a nuclear weapon. President Trump has long been clear that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and he does not bluff.
That was about last year's strikes. But what about the current war? Why did it prove fruitless? The reason, according to analysts, is straightforward. The current war, which began on February 28th, has largely targeted Iran's conventional military forces, its leadership, and its defense industrial base, not its nuclear material. And that material is the crux of the problem. The UN nuclear watchdog has been unable to account for some 440 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60%, believed to be stored deep underground at Isfahan. The International Atomic Energy Agency says that the stockpile, if further enriched, would be enough for 10 nuclear bombs. Eric Brewer, a former senior US intelligence analyst, put it plainly.
Iran still possesses all of its nuclear material as far as we know. That material is probably located in deeply buried underground sites where US munitions can't penetrate.
Officials in Washington insist the war has not been without consequence. The White House argues that destroying Iran's air defenses and military infrastructure has reduced Tehran's ability to protect its nuclear sites in any future push toward weaponization. There is also the matter of Iran's nuclear scientists. Israel has assassinated several leading figures in the program, and David Albright, a former UN nuclear inspector, says the loss of that expertise introduces real uncertainty.
Knowledge can't be bombed, but know-how certainly can be destroyed.
A ceasefire struck on April 7th has paused the fighting, but tensions remain high. Iran has choked traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, disrupting roughly 20% of global oil supplies. While the negotiations are ongoing, a nuclear deal for now remains out of reach. A retired CIA analyst has set off a firestorm with a claim that stopped people mid-scroll. Donald Trump, during an emergency White House meeting, had tried to access the nuclear codes, and the country's top military officer had told him no. Larry Johnson, who blogs on national security and appeared on the YouTube program Judging Freedom, said General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, stood up and refused the president's request outright.
They recognize they've got some problems and got to try to deal with it. And then there was a report out that they had an emergency meeting Saturday night. And apparently, well, one report coming out of that meeting at the White House is that Trump wanted to use the nuclear, so-called use the nuclear codes, and General Dan Kane stood up and said no. He invoked his privilege as the head of the military, so to speak. It was apparently quite a blow up. There are pictures of Kane coming out of that meeting with his head down to the ground. So, you know, there's some very, very bizarre things going on in D.C.
The claim landed against a backdrop that made it easy to believe. The Wall Street Journal had already reported that Trump was kept out of the Situation Room during a critical Iran rescue operation on April 19th, after he allegedly spent hours screaming at aides following the downing of a US aircraft by Iranian forces. Senior officials concluded his temperament would compromise the mission. But the nuclear code's claim is a different matter entirely. Fact-checking outlet Lead Stories traced Johnson's account and found no confirmed reports of any emergency Pentagon meeting on April 19th. The last documented Pentagon briefing had been on April 16th, where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth appeared alongside General Kane. Nothing since. Lead Stories also searched across Google News and Yahoo News for any corroborating reports of Kane refusing Trump or walking out of any meeting. It found none. Had it happened, the outlet noted, major newsrooms would have been all over it. Johnson's account remains unverified. No government official has confirmed the meeting took place. No major outlet has independently corroborated the claim. The Situation Room episode appears to be real. The nuclear code's story, for now, might not. Even as a fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran took hold this week, a new and far more dangerous spectre has entered the conversation: a nuclear war. The warning came not from a government briefing or classified intelligence, but from a live television studio in Israel, where journalist Shimon Riklin, appearing alongside National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir on Channel 14, raised the possibility of deploying a neutron bomb against Iran.
Why aren't we using what's called an atomic neutron bomb in Iran? It's a type of atomic bomb that doesn't damage buildings. It kills people in a limited way, everywhere.
Ben-Gvir did not condemn the suggestion. He nodded, laughed, and told Riklin to keep speaking. The exchange drew immediate international attention. Within hours, claims began circulating that both China and Pakistan had privately warned Israel against any nuclear use. The claims were relayed publicly by American commentator and Young Turks co-founder Cenk Uygur, speaking on Piers Morgan Uncensored on April 8th. Neither Beijing nor Islamabad has officially confirmed any such warning, and no government statement from either country has been independently verified at the time of broadcast.
And by the way, if you haven't heard, China and Pakistan have said that if Israel nukes Iran, they will nuke Israel. So here we are on the precipice of a nuclear holocaust because this baboon is in office and he's like, oh, Bibi, how can I make you happy? Can you please give me more money? Am I going to be a hero, Bibi? I can't stand this guy. And doing the exact opposite of what he promised. Okay. The exact opposite. And one more thing a point that Glenn made that is really important. So Russia goes and destroys their army and their treasure in Ukraine. Now we're going to destroy our treasure. We spent $300 million on the rescue alone. It was a brilliant operation, but $300 million. We're spending $1 to $2 billion a day.
China's foreign ministry, for its part, has consistently called for restraint and a political settlement, stopping well short of any nuclear ultimatum in its public statements. What is on the record, however, is the broader context. The ceasefire between the US and Iran, brokered by Pakistan on April 8th, with just 90 minutes to spare before Trump's deadline, remains deeply unstable. Israel has said it does not consider itself bound by the agreement in Lebanon. Iran has already threatened to suspend it, and IRGC commanders, in a joint statement, warned their forces remain with hands on the trigger. Against that backdrop, a laughing minister and a journalist casually discussing atomic weapons on primetime television is not simply inflammatory. For a region already 40 days into war, it is a measure of exactly how far things have gone.